Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Race for Vets. Glad to have you here. Have something very interesting today. A lot of people they look at the news. And I'm saying we, try to look behind the news. We're not trying to look through the smokes and mirrors and everything else that goes with the fake news media and your Hollywood Boulevard people. We have something very important here. This is up to you. Whether you decide whether what I'm saying is true or not, it's up to you. I know that for a fact I've been studying for 3 years. Well, more than that actually since Obama got in. In fact, I'll tell you a true story. When Obama came in, I started buying food like crazy, and I was wrong about it. Of course, the economy wasn't as bad then as it is now. The signs are all pointing right now to our economy, and it's getting worse and worse, and it's done purposely. When you see this video, you'll understand why and what's going on. And again, it's up to the American people to decide what they want to do because it's coming, people. I mean, I'm not out here for nothing. Believe me. I'm trying to help you out. And eventually, it depends what goes on the election time. I might be just taken off permanently and hide and do my little thing. But if it runs right with the elections, I'll be out here a little bit further. So without any further ado, we'll start with the countdown, and then we'll start with the video. It's not a long one, but it's very interesting. Very interesting. Catch you in a short. Like I said before, this is a very important video. This should be very interesting to the people who know what's going on in America right now. For people who don't, forget about it. Don't even look at it. It's not even worth your while to even watch it. Believe me, you wouldn't understand it anyway. But if you do decide to, you're more than welcome. But it's just for people who really understand what's going on with America right now, what's going to happen to them. So without further ado, here we go, people. We're going to start it up right now. Thank you.
Welcome back to Unfiltered. Folks, the surveillance state, it's getting worse. It's moving full steam ahead. The FBI is reportedly dishing out $27 million to use Babel X. What the hell is Babel X? Well, it's tracking software to spy on your social media posts. The Bureau claims their goal is to identify possible threats and predict where crimes could happen. What could possibly go wrong with that? Joining me now is FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin. Kyle, thanks for spending some time with us again. I appreciate it. What is Babel X, Kyle, and what's the potential for abuse here by the FBI?
Thanks for having me back on, Dan. Babel X is a social media exploitation tool, or what the Bureau calls SOMEX, since they love acronyms so much. And the tool is used to crawl across multiple platforms of social media, and when used properly, it's an appropriate law enforcement tool. It can be used very narrowly, very specific keywords and very specific geographic areas. And so then you end up with a very appropriate tool. But if that is expanded, it has some very questionable constitutional issues that come up, specifically your First Amendment right to free speech and whether the government should be monitoring it.
Yeah, I mean, really, if they're trolling our social media and surveilling our social media for election misinformation, Kyle, it's kind of discretionary what they categorize as misinformation. I mean, they totally missed the Hunter Biden laptop story. It was actually classified as disinformation, even though it was real. So are rank and file agents worried about the Bureau's kind of marriage to big tech to crack down on misinformation and election crimes? This sounds like this could be real trouble.
Well, the concern is why it's public, obviously. That's why you have whistleblowers coming forward with this kind of information. That's why it's being discussed. When the FBI lists on a list of 8 different potential election crimes, something like misinformation or disinformation, which are not explicit crimes. They're only really criminal if they are part of one of the other crimes that are listed on that list. So they're just not the thing that is the purview of the FBI. They should be explicitly avoided for First Amendment considerations. So you hit the nail on the head. Rank and file agents, people on the front lines, they're concerned that this could be abused, and it's not going to be abused in every field office. And that's the real story, I think, is that it has potential of being abused only in specific areas where management is willing to sign off on broader searches than is appropriate.
I mean, I got about a minute left, Kyle, but what's to stop, say, an FBI agent who, isn't really concerned about his duty and is more concerned about left-wing politics from just opening up an intelligence case on a social media account they don't like for conservative or pro-life ideas and classifying it as misinformation?
So I've heard people get into that discussion. If someone is following Alex Jones or, wants to send his messages out on their website, and that's something that's worth looking into. It doesn't take much more than that and one other data point for the FBI to take a look at you. So, hopefully scruples, their belief that they're going to stick with their oath. That's really where we're at. I mean, that's the final line right there.
Kyle Seraphin, thanks for speaking out to your fellow whistleblowers, for doing the right thing. I knew you guys were out there. I appreciate it.
What we do here is go back.
About 4 years, China will become the world's dominant superpower. They are aligning themselves with Russia in a very cozy relationship. If you ignore this, you will be ignoring this at your peril, because you need to pay attention to what's being heaped on you right now, which is an enormous amount of ridiculous propaganda that we're hearing about. The propagandists are telling us that China and Russia are about to invade the United States and they want a war with us. That's what the propagandists are telling us. Of course, I don't believe it for a minute. They don't want a war with the West. The West wants war with them. It's how they cling to power. It's how they hold on to the hegemony. The real war is economic, and Russia and China are winning, which I'll explain in a minute. We've got a whole lot of new data that we need to pay attention to that just came out this weekend. Now, the coming war with China likely won't be fought with massive armies. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Russia does actually want to take over Alaska and Canada, and China will take over the lower 48 states. And maybe it'll be like the 1980s movie Red Dawn, and I'll get a group of 10 people together. We'll call ourselves the Wolverines, and we'll head into the hills, and we'll fight the entire Russian army, and somehow we'll win.
Wolverines!
Yes, that was a real 1980s movie. 10 people defeated an invading Russian and Cuban army. I love this movie as a kid. Yes, as a 12-year-old kid, but I'm slightly smarter than my 12-year-old self. And I don't believe that that is going to happen. Instead, all of the evidence right now points to the United States provoking both Russia and China simultaneously. Provoking Russia by moving NATO troops right to its doorstep. We got the word this weekend, of course, that the 101st Airborne Division is now deployed and ready for war.
They're America's go-to combat troops.
Go, 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 go.
The soldiers of the 101st Airborne Division, now the closest U.S. forces to the fight in Ukraine.
NATO got its wish and invaded Ukraine. That's exactly what happened. Former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi was caught on some leaked audio this week, admitting what everyone with a brain already knows, that the U.S. provoked a war in Ukraine. They funded and then pushed Ukraine to start attacking the Donbass. Bloomberg reporter Maria Tadeo has the transcript of this leaked audio. Quote, Berlusconi in hot water, she writes. This time around, caught on tape suggesting Putin gifted him vodka and wrote him a letter for his birthday, which he reciprocated. Then the audio adds, quote, I can't give my opinion on the war because it would be a disaster if it leaks to the media. That's what Berlusconi said. Go on. Can we hear some more? She continues. A second audio from Berlusconi has leaked in which he is heard saying Ukraine violated the Minsk deal. Zelensky tripled attacks on Donbass and pushed Putin to a special operation. It was supposed to last a week, but escalated after the West sent money and weapons. Woo. He's telling the truth here. Berlusconi goes on, says he'd rather not say out loud what he thinks about Zelensky. And then he continues, I don't see how Putin and Zelensky can talk unless there's an intervention. The war won't end. Worth noting that this is a private conversation where Berlusconi asks for maximum discretion, she writes. Of course, he's telling the truth. He thinks it's in private, admitting the U.S. and NATO pushed Russia to war. We all know that. The only way this ends is with the United States pushing Ukraine back to the peace table. But they have no appetite for that because this is all about American power and American hegemony, the U.S. dollar. Heck, we have just an admission this weekend from General Mark Milley, the guy who looks like he's answered a casting call for guys that look like generals who have giant heads and no neck.
Just in Ukraine's interest. It is in the global interest to protect, as the Secretary pointed out, the rules-based international order. And that is our purpose that has been given to us, the uniformed military, from our civilian leadership, which is to uphold the rules-based international order that was established some 80 years ago at the conclusion of World War II.
So John Goodman lookalike General Milley just admitted the truth, which is about the U.S. retaining power. Now, if Ukraine falls, then the WEF and the New World Order will collapse. It's not about Ukraine, and it's not about Taiwan. It's about pretending that we care about a rules-based international order. And all that means, really, is that the United States gets to do whatever it wants, threatening American force unless you use the American dollar as your reserve currency. That's the real reason we provoked a war with Russia. And it's the very same reason we're provoking a war with China over Taiwan. It's the same reason we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. It's all about retaining American power, which is slipping away right before our eyes. Now, Western propaganda about China and Russia tells us that China and Russia want to attack the United States, to take over our lands. I heard a lot of this propaganda last week. Don't fall for it. The truth is, China doesn't want to have anything to do with a conventional war. They have expanded economically in ways the United States and Europe cannot even come close to competing with. And a war would be a major inconvenience for China. China absolutely wants to regain control of Taiwan. Now, remember, Taiwan is a part of China. It is China. And the United States says that Taiwan is a part of China. The U.S. supports a one China policy, even if senile Joe Biden says he'll send American men and women to Taiwan to die. That is a war the U.S. cannot win. The U.S. can't even win a war against guys on camels in Afghanistan after 20 years and $3 trillion spent. Heck, they didn't even have an air force. And Biden thinks we could travel thousands of miles by ships and beat China. Colonel Douglas McGregor thinks China could withstand anything that we throw at it. Of course, he's right. The real story is economic warfare, the slow, methodical takeover of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. And most people aren't even ready for what's coming in a few weeks when China puts boots on the ground in Taiwan. And yes, that is happening and will likely happen before the end of the year. Could be just in a few weeks or closer to the end of the year. And no amount of Wolverines are going to stop it with bullets. Let's look at some of the stunning data points this week. Now, if you're in the West, you better pay attention and prepare because it's going to be devastating. This week, we saw an end of the U.S. dollar rally. This was a big moment. Didn't get a lot of press coverage. Silver and gold experts, though, I've been talking with, agree that the outside reversal in the U.S. dollar index is troubling, which means inflation is about to get a whole lot worse in the United States. Now, if you're Nancy Pelosi, when asked about inflation yesterday, here is her solution. Just change the subject, she says.
Look, it's only been a year and a half under the Biden agenda. Our jobs are leaving Michigan. Inflation's at a 40-year high. Russia's attacking Europe for the first time since World War II. Democrats are in charge.
And the fact is that when I hear people talk about inflation, as I heard him there, we have to change that subject. Inflation is a global phenomenon. Yeah. The EU, the European Union, the UK, the British have a higher inflation rate than we do here.
That's right. We have to change the subject. That's the best way to deal with the problem. By the way, I love the CBS anchor saying, yes, you're right. Ignore it. Maybe it'll go away. Now, the US dollar has been seen as a safe haven, right? It's been record highs lately. But what happens when it's not safe any longer? We're about to find out. So just watch. It's happening right now. Bob Moriarty says the debt-based economy in the United States is collapsing.
You need to have cash. You need to have food. You need to keep your car fueled. You need to talk to your children, okay? The banking system is going to fail. The credit card system is going to fail, and you need to sit and think about it and say, what do I do to protect my family, my children, my neighborhood? Because that time is not only coming, it's coming very, very quickly.
So just how bad is this debt? Well, Peter Schiff says at the rate the national debt and interest rates are rising before the decade ends, interest on the national debt will exceed 100% of federal tax revenue. The entire federal government would then consist of the Treasury Department, which would then just collect taxes and pay interest. Wow. Now, Silvershares disagrees and says, hey, that's a bit bleak and unrealistic, Peter. I think that what they will do is simply inflate the debt down to a manageable level while reducing everyone's standard of living, except for the very rich, who will find ways to game the system and even get richer. Okay, so in this scenario, only the rich survive because that's how it always goes. So maybe it's not as bleak as Peter is making it out to be based on the data, but the way that Silvershares paints it, well, no one's going to survive and only the rich will. Okay, so it's all bad. And right now, the U.S. is pushing more sanctions on China, but it won't matter because the rich companies do too much business with China, and they're never going to stop doing business with China. Just listen to Vivek Ramaswamy, who wrote one of my favorite books of last year that I read called Woke Incorporated. This is what Vivek said on Friday. Watch.
And you can mark my words. The 300 plus companies that ceremoniously cut their ties with Russia when Vladimir Putin made his move on Ukraine will not say a word to condemn China as Xi Jinping goes for Taiwan. And I believe this weekend's milestone starts the clock on when he might do that.
He's right.
Well, there you have it, people. It's all up to you. We're done. We're done for America. That's it. We're done. We got punked big time. It's all because of wealth, power. They've been draining us ever since World War II, and if not further than that. It's all been a chessboard game, like I said, until we're into a checkmate. And again, like the gentleman said, we are going to hurt the American people, not the rich, not the elites, not government, not the senators, not Washington. We, as Americans. And we gave so much to other countries. And what do we get out of it? The shaft, the big royal shaft. You figure it out, people. Now, again, it depends on this election. Don't count on this election either way. If the Democrats win, well, we're shafted. There's no doubt about it. Republican gets in, well, we're going to have to start weeding out the rhinos, the people who don't care about American people, because it's coming down to the fact that we're shafted. We ain't going to have a penny. Nothing. They're going to take away your food, your medical, your gas, your heat, lack of education for your children, your buses, school buses. This is all coming down. All coming down. And I don't know if you know about it. I think it's like about maybe 20 days now. We're going to run out of diesel fuel. We'll see what happens with that. See if they can pick that up. And if that happens, no transport of food or nothing. It's done. We are over with. And you can thank your government. They put in laws to protect themselves, not for us American people. And like I said before, if you have a leader that cares about the constituents, us people, he's a good president. And so is our senators. But it didn't happen that way. And it's all a bunch of lies. You don't hear anything about this on TV. And we, and I'm saying we, my friends that are behind me, they give me information and I give them information. And I try my best to try to give you the information out there. But it's up to you to drink the water if you want it. But I'll tell you what, when it comes, you guys are going to wonder what the hell happened. And it's going to happen fast. They're not going to just slowly do it now. It's coming. But like I said, if it's Republicans, it's going to be a slow process. If it's a Democrat, it's going to be an axe. Boom. It's going to happen automatically. But one thing's for sure. Our monetary system, the money, is done. We're over with. They bled us dry. Everything. And they don't care. This is why they don't want to start the oil pipelines. They want us to go down purposely. This is why they're allowing illegals to come in, destroy our family values, our culture. This is all done by manufactured design. This is not done purposely. You got some smart people out there who know how to manipulate the people. And it's not just happening here in America. It's happening in Europe. In a lot of other countries like China, Russia, Africa, they're getting smart and they're getting away from the monetary dollar. They're starting their own monetary program. Our dollar went down to hell because they soaked us raw. Our government did. And they abused us. But if people don't see it today, that's your own fault. When the stuff hits the fan, don't be crying to the government. Cry to yourself. Look in the mirror. If you say, why did it happen? Again, look at yourself. It was you. You allowed them to do it. And I've been out here for 2 years now almost, trying to talk to you people. Like I said, I don't want subscribers and I don't want nobody thumbs up, whatever. All I want is listeners. And if I'm lying to you, write to me. I'll tell you. I'll show you the proof. I'm not the best speaker in the world, nor know how to run this damn StreamYard. I'm better at doing videos than I am in the StreamYard. But I come out here now and then. But if it does happen where they do decide to win, the Republicans, I'll be out here still. And I'm going to be watching over the Republicans, who's bad and what's going on there. But if the Democrats come in, I'm out. I'm done. So other than that, people, good luck to you. I wish you a lot of luck. I'll send some more videos when I can, when I find something valuable. And start putting food aside for this chaos. Medical, bandages, peroxide, Procuricum, anything you can. Heat. And again, look on YouTube. They got survival kits out there that you can see. That'll help you out. All right, Race for Vets, we're out. 12 Bravo, I appreciate your help, buddy. I really do. Yeah, 12 Bravo, he listened to me. He's doing it right now. And another gentleman's out there. He's doing it. And they can see the signs. Smart man, 12 Bravo. Keep it up. So it's up to you people. 12 Bravo, I'll catch you later on. Thank you for showing up, buddy. You're the only ones up here. You're only smart man here. Be good, 12 Bravo. Everybody else, thank you very much. Catch you later on. God bless. And I catch you when I can. Rice for Vets route. And I do appreciate it. Like I always say, you all come back now, you hear? You too, Bravo.